So in today's lecture, we are going to see second order response surface design. Till the last lecture, we have seen how basically a first order response surface design is generated. Then we have seen how RSM itself is used, right? How research response surface methodology is used to find out the ideal values of the input factors, right? What is the method that is used? The method that is used is known as the method of the steepest ascent, right? How does this method work? We will just go over it very quickly. In this method, we first of all we perform a full factorial experiment at any random point. Okay, this is a random point, and over here we perform a full factorial experiment. Plus, we also take central points while doing the experiment. Now, using this data, we find out the contours, right? We find out the contours. Now, these contours, because they are far away from the optimum values, that is why these contours are in straight line. See over here, here you can see that yellow lines are more straighter than these light blue lines. These light blue lines are more straighter than these dark blue lines, and these dark blue lines are more straighter than these lines, right? The radius of this is less. The radius of this is further less. This has the minimum radius, whereas these lines have a very big radius. What does a big radius mean? A big radius means that it is almost a straight line. So over here, when we are far away from the optimum value, over here the lines are straight, the contours are straight. And because the contours are straight, what can we say? We can say that the response surface model is of first order. The response surface model is of first order. That is, all the variables have a maximum power of 1. What was the formula for the first order response surface model? The formula for first order response surface model is y is equal to b naught plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2. Sorry, beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. What does this mean? This means that this is the intercept, this is the coefficient of the variable x1, this is the coefficient of the variable x2. Over here we are considering only two factors, right? If there was a third factor, then there would be an additional term called beta 3 x3, right? And so on for more factors. So this is a first order response surface design. Now, similar to a first order response surface design, as and how we get closer to the optimum value. See over here, this was the first experiment that we performed. Then we found out the contours. Then we drew a line perpendicular to the contour. Now we are going to perform experiments on these contour at specific steps, right? Their step size. We have seen this part before. So when we reach to a point after which the value then again decreases. See, till here the value is going on decreasing, and after that it is again increasing. In this question we want to minimize the value, right? So over here we are getting the minimum value. So we will again perform a full factorial experiment around this central value. We are going to perform a full factorial experiment around this central value. But in this case, what is happening? In this case, because the contour is itself curved, see, the contour is curved, the contour is not a straight line, the contour is curved. So if we try to fit a straight line over here, we will get the wrong value. We will get the wrong equation for the contour. So what we have to do? We have to use second order response surface design. Now, some of you might be thinking, why only we limit to second order, right? Why is the maximum power only 2? Why not go for third order or fourth order or higher order? See, you can definitely go for third order, you can go for fourth order, you can go for as high an order as you like. But the experimenters found out that as you go on above the third order, there is a large amount of confounding. What do you mean by confounding? It means that the same effect is caused by various combining factors, right? We have seen confounding before. In simple words, what it means, that till second order response surface design, we in second order response surface we design, we get enough accuracy, okay, that there is no need to go for third order response surface design. The accuracy of third order response surface design is pretty much close to the accuracy of the second order response surface design. Okay, so second order is enough. If you like, you can go for third order, but the calculations and experimentation increases a lot. So second order is enough for all practical applications. In general, sometimes it might be possible that you might go for some higher order response surface design. So currently we are looking at only second order response surface design. So what is happening over here? So over here we do not want a equation of a line. We want equation of a curve. So to get equation of a curve, we will use second order response surface design. Now how will this equation look? We can see over here. Just 1 minute. Right. So how is this equation going to look? Well, we can see over here that equation, just 1 minute, sorry. Yes, this is what the equation is going to look like. The equation will consist of beta 0, beta 1 x1 and beta 2 x2, just like the first order response surface design. But at the same time, it will also contain terms of x1 square, x2 square and x1 x2 interaction, right? There are terms of x1 square, x2 square and x1 x2 interaction. If you look at this, what is the power? Power is 2, power is 2 and power is 1 and 1 for each. So 1 into 1, whenever we are multiplying, multiplication gets added. So this becomes 2, right? Powers get added, right? Na? X into x is x square. Na? So that is the same logic. So over here we are having what? We are having terms which have a maximum power of 2. Okay. So if you want to go for a third order, how will the third order look? I will just tell you, it is not required for our syllabus. But if you go for a third order response surface, what is it going to look? It is going to look like this. See, beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. And I am considering only two factors. Huh? Beta 1 x1 square plus beta 2 x2 square plus beta 1 x1 x2 plus beta 1 x1 cube plus beta 2 x2 cube plus beta 1 x1 square x2 plus beta 1 x2 square x1. Okay, so this is what the third order response surface will look like. As you can see, the number of terms is very large and the calculation becomes very difficult. That is why we do not go for a third order response surface model and we limit ourselves to second order response surface model, right? So I will just go back. Okay, so whenever you are designing a second order response surface model, there are different methods for designing second order response surface. Okay, over here I have just listed two important methods. One is central composite design and one is box Benken design. But there are a large number of methods. Okay, there are also some methods known as custom methods, right, in which you can define yourself how you want to make the response surface. Okay, but we will be limiting our talk to only these two designs. Okay, so the first one is central composite design and the second one is box Benken design. Okay, so in central composite design, we are going to see central composite design in depth and we will be just seeing an overview of the box Benken design. Okay, because central composite design is given in your syllabus, it is given as a separate topic itself. So we will be looking at central composite design in much more detail as compared to box Benken design. In central composite design also, there are three subtypes. These subtypes are spherical, rotatable and face centered. Okay, there is not much difference between these three. There is only a simple difference between these three elements. Okay, we will see this as we go forward. Okay, so basically what I wanted to tell you that whenever you are creating a second order response surface design, there are two important ways in which you can create a second order response surface design, and those two important ways are central composite design and box Benken design. Okay, so these are the names of the researchers, mathematicians, statisticians, Box and Benken, who came up with this method. Okay, so first of all we will look at central composite design. So what is happening in central composite design? See, a central composite design is also known as Box-Wilson design. Okay, these are also two statisticians who came up with this design. Why are we using central composite design? To create a second order response surface, right? Now imagine, see, whenever we want to create a second order response surface means what? We want to create a response with a curve, right? We do not want only straight lines in our equation. We do not want equation of only a straight line. We want equation of a curve. See what happens. Just imagine that we have performed only a factorial experiment. Okay, we are not doing central composite right now. We are doing only a factorial experiment. So in that factorial experiment, where we take the readings, we will take the readings at -1 plus 1. We will take at +1 plus 1, +1 minus 1, and -1 minus 1. Right? We can also take reading at what? We can also take reading at the central value. But using these values, if you see carefully, there are only 2 points which come in a line. Okay, let us say just let us imagine that the output over here is 60, over here the output is 70, over here the output is 75, over here the output is 85. Okay, now if you look at this closely, okay, just a minute, rather than 75 and 85, I will write 65 and 76. Okay, now if you look at this closely, if you want to draw contours, see, we have seen this in module 2 also, but if you want to draw contours, how can you draw? See, here the value is 65, here it is 60, here it is 70, so 65 will be in the center. You can draw a contour like this. Contour is what? Contour is a line connecting all points with the same value. Okay, so what is a contour? A contour is a line connecting all the points with the same value. So see, here I have drawn a contour. Why? Because here also it is 65, here also 65. Means what? At all these points between here, the value will be 65. Similarly, what another thing I can do? Here it is 70, this is 65, this is 76. So 70 will be somewhere over here. Again, I can draw this contour, right? These contours are what? These contours are straight lines. Why are these straight lines? Because there are only 2 points that we can use to join them, right? There are only 2 points that we can use to join them. So if we want to draw curves, we cannot have just 2 points, right? If we want to draw curves, we cannot have just 2 points. We need more points. So that is why in central composite design, in addition to the central experimental run and these factorial experimental runs, we also have some extra experimental runs. These extra experimental runs are known as axial runs. Okay, you can see them over here. See here, these are known as axial runs. Okay, and the value of these axial runs is different for different methods. Okay, see, here are the three methods: spherical, rotatable, and face centered. For each of these, the value of these axial runs is different. So why are these axial runs required? See, by using these axial runs now, we can get more than 2 points on a single curve. So let us say, let us take our old example again. This is 60, this is 70, this is 65, this is 75. And in this experimental run, you also got this value as 68, and let us say you got this value as 79. Okay, possibly these might be the values. So here also 68. Where else is 68? Between 60 and 70, somewhere over here you have 68. Between 65 and 75, somewhere over here you have 68. So how will the curve look? The curve will look like this, right? See, this is just a random example which I have taken, but even in this random example, see, you can see that there is now a curve, right? There is not now a straight line only, there is a curve. Similarly, here what we have, here the value is a bit large, okay, so I cannot draw another curve. So here it is 79, so for this 79 will be somewhere over here, for this 79 will be somewhere over here, right? Again you will get a curve, right? 79, 79, 79. right? This is just projection forward. Okay, so this is how you will get the curves in your central composite design, and with these curves you can say that you have a second order model. The second order model means what? There are curves, because curves better fit a equation, right? Always curves are better fitting than straight lines, right? So this is what we do. So in central composite design, what do we do? In central composite design, we take the factorial runs and central runs like our previous example, but additionally we also take axial runs. And axial runs, the value of these axial runs, I will explain to you how we get the value of these axial runs, but the value of these axial runs are different for these three different methods. Okay, so let us see how we get the values of these axial points. Okay, these points are also known as axial points. These points are known as axial points, or more commonly they are known as star points. Okay, they are called as star points. Okay, so we will see how we can use this. So see, what are the values of the alpha? What are the values of alpha? That is, what are the values of the axial runs? For spherical, it is square root of k into step size. What is k? K is the number of factors. See, in the previous example, what is k? In the previous example, k is 2, right? We have only two factors, x1 and x2. So what will be the value of k? The value of k will be 2. So square root of 2 into step size, right? I have explained step size before also. I will explain it again, but just remember the formula. Okay, again, then for second case of CCD, central composite design, what is the rotatable type? For rotatable type, what is the value of alpha? For rotatable type, the value of alpha is what? It is the fourth root of nf. And what is nf? Nf is the number of factorial runs, right? In our case, if you look in our case, let us see over here. In our case, what is the number of factorial runs? This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, right? These 4 are what? These 4 are factorial runs. Over here you have your central run, and over here you have your axial runs, right? There can be multiple central runs. Ideally there are 5 central runs. Okay, there are 4 factorial runs and 4 axial runs. So what is the total number of experimental runs that you have to do? 4 plus 4 plus 5 is equal to 30. Okay, with 13 experimental runs you will get the equation for your second order response surface, right? So what are the values of alpha for these different types of CCD? See, this can be asked in MCQ. Okay, so please pay attention. For spherical type, the value of alpha is square root of k into step size, where k is the number of factors. In our case, k is 2. For rotatable, alpha is what? Alpha is 4 in fourth root of number of factors. In our number of factorial runs, in our case, number of factorial runs is 4, and in face centered, alpha is equal to 1. Okay, so this is how the values of alpha differ for a central composite design. Okay, now we can just understand this central composite design with an example. Okay, the example which we have been studying from the previous 2 lectures, that same example we will continue. That you are working in a factory which is manufacturing batteries. Okay, they are manufacturing nickel cadmium batteries. So when manufacturing the nickel cadmium batteries, you did some experiments and you found out that the amount of charge stored inside the nickel cadmium battery is dependent on 2 main factors. What are the 2 factors? First is the percentage concentration of cadmium, and the second factor is the temperature of the solution, right? So you did the first experiment. Okay, just a minute, I will show you over here. So all this I have explained before in the previous lectures. Sorry, not these slides. I will explain those slides afterwards. So see, this is a different graph, but I will just explain over here. So you have done your nickel cadmium experiment over here. You found out the contour. You moved perpendicular to the contour. You performed experiments after certain step sizes. You reached over here. You went forward. You found out that this is the best efficiency. So now you are performing a second order response surface model design at this point. You are performing a second order response surface model, response surface design over here. Okay, so when you are performing the second order response surface model design over here, you will use which method? You will use central composite design method, right? So using that steepest ascent method, you found out that the central value for best efficiency is 85% cadmium and 175 Fahrenheit. Okay, this is what you found. This is a random example. Okay, and your step size in this case is what? Your step size in this case is not 5. I am sorry. Your step size, oh sorry, it is 5. Okay, your step size is what? Your step size is 5, right? So 85 and 175 over here, your step size is 5. So here we have our factors. This is your factor 1 x1 and this is your factor 2 x2, right? X1 is what? X1 is initially 80, then it is increasing to 85, then it is increasing to 90. So it is our x-axis. Here what is happening? The x2 factor is initially 170, it is increasing to 175 and it is increasing to 180. So the step size is how much? The step size is 5, right? The step size is 5. So how will we perform central composite design? This is what? This is just factorial experiment plus a central experimental run, right? Here what have we done? We have done a central experimental run and we have done a factorial experimental runs, right? 4 factorial experimental runs and 1 central experimental run. Now with this, if we want to do a central composite design, with this we also have to do star runs or axial runs, right? That is why I have marked them as star. See over here. Here this is the central run. These are your factorial runs. You have to do your axial runs. What is the formula for axial runs? We are selecting spherical. Okay, spherical is the most commonly used kind of central composite design, but you can use any of the three. We are going for spherical. What is the formula of alpha for spherical? Square root of k into step size, where k is the number of factors. So I write square root of 2 into 5, which is 7.071, right? So from here plus 7.071 in which axis? Y axis, no? This is x2 factor, no? So I have increased the value of x2 factor. When I am moving in x-axis, positive x-axis, I am increasing the value of x1, right? Similarly here I am decreasing the value of x2 and here I am decreasing the value of x1. Okay, so this is how this is done. Here I have designed a spherical central composite design. Okay, this is what? This is a spherical central composite design. So in this case there will be 13 experimental runs. There will be how many? Based on the given by the formula, there will be 5 central experimental runs. There will be 4 factorial experimental runs and there will be these 4 axial runs. Okay, there are going to be 4 axial runs. So the total number of experimental runs is how much? Total number of experimental runs is 30. Okay, so now after doing all these 13 experimental runs, what are we going to get? After doing all these 13 experimental runs, we are going to get the values of output also, right? We will change the factor and we will perform the experiment and we will get the value of the output, right? That table I have drawn over here. See the central runs. Here we have the central runs 85, 175. See, they are total 5 in number. Here we have our 4 axial runs and here we have our 4 factorial runs and here we have our 4 axial runs, right? I have also given them the coded values +1 -1, right? You know these values by now. If this is the central 85, this is minus, na? This is negative, na? Means this is less than 85, na? So it is -1. Here we have 175, it is less than 175, na? It is -1. Step size is 5, right? We are moving 5 5, na? We saw in that graph. Every time we are moving 5 units forward. So step size is 5. So here we have -1 -1. Here what do we have? 80, which is less than 85, so -1. But we have 180, which is +5. So we are writing +1. Over here we have what? We have the value of alpha. This is what? Plus alpha, right? So plus 1.414, which is the square root of 2, 1.414, right? That is the same thing which I have done over here. So from here, you are getting what? You are getting your experimental runs. These are the actual values of the experimental runs. These are the coded values of the experimental runs. And this is the output for each output. This, in simple words, what does this mean? Ki for 80% cadmium and 170 degree Fahrenheit, what is the output of the cadmium battery? What is the capacity of cadmium battery? The capacity of cadmium battery is 76.5 ampere hours. Okay. Then for 92.07% cadmium and 175 degree Fahrenheit, what is the capacity of the battery? Capacity of the battery is 78.4 ampere hour. Okay. This is what this simply means. You are just changing the input variables, and based on the change in input variables, there is a change in the output variable. Okay. So now that we have found out the values, now we have to find out the curves equation, right? That is the main thing why we are doing all this. Now we have to find out the equation of the curve. So this is the general equation of a second order two factor central composite design. Okay, this is what? This is the central composite design for a second factor two level. Okay, sorry, second factor to second order. Okay, two factors and second order. There are only two factors, x1 and x2, and maximum, what is the order? Maximum order is 2. If you want to do this for a, see, this is what this equation, sorry, just 1 minute. This is for what? Two factors. What are the two factors? X1 and x2. And what is the maximum order? Maximum order is 2, right? Order is 2. Now if you want to do this for three factors and second order, three factors and second order, how is this going to look? Y bar is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3. Why? Because there are three factors, no? So these are first order. This is first order model for a three factor system. Now if you want to make a second order model for a three factor system, what you will do? Beta 1 1 x1 square plus beta 2 2 x2 square plus beta 3 3 x3 square plus beta 1 2 x1 x2 plus beta 1 3 x1 x3 plus beta 2 3 x2 x3. See here, nowhere the power is more than 3. See, nowhere is the power more than 3. The maximum power is only 2, right? x2 into x3, 1 into 1, 2, right? But what are the factors? The number of factors is 3, right? So we have to find out the values of this beta 0, beta 1, beta 2, beta 1 1, beta 2 2, and beta 1 2. We have to find out the values of these constants. When we find out the values of these constants, we will get our regression model. That is what we will get the equation of our curve. Then we will be able to draw the curve, and once we are able to draw the curve, our response surface is designed, right? So what we have to do, see these steps, see I am just explaining these steps to you, but these steps are not in your syllabus. Max means these steps are in your syllabus, but there is no numerical on these steps. Okay, so just remember these steps and remember an important formula which I will tell you at the end, but just remember these steps. Okay, what is the first step that you have to do? You have to draw the table for the variables. Okay, so these are the variables, right? And I have drawn the table. See here it is y, so here also I have y. Here I have x1 variable, so x1, x2, x2, x1 square, x1 square, x2 square, x2 square, x1 x2, x1 x2. Okay, the order should remain the same. You should not change the order. Okay, you should keep the order the same, right? So after drawing this, what is the next step? The next step is to determine the matrix X. So what is the matrix X? The matrix X has all the columns which we just wrote. What are the columns? The first column is I, means it has all +1 values. Okay, In first column there are all plus 1 values. Then the next column is x1, x2, x1 square, x2 square, and x1, x2. The values which we found out in the previous, see over here, the values which we found out over here, those are the same values which I have copied over there. Okay, just what is the additional thing? I have written 1111 in before, sorry, I have written 1111 before all these, and I have removed this y column. Okay, so once you have found out the matrix X, what is the next step you have to do? You have to take the transpose of matrix X. You know now what transpose is. See, in simple words, what is transpose? If you have a like this A, B, C, D, E, F, you convert columns to rows and rows to columns. Okay, so AB is a row. AB is a row now, so you make AB into a column. CD is a row, make CD into column. EF is a row, make EF into column. Okay, so basically this column has now become a row. This column has now become a row. Okay, so we change this 13 cross 6 matrix into a 6 cross 13 matrix. That is what transpose of X. Again I repeat, you do not have a numerical on this. Just look at the steps. Okay, so you take the transpose of matrix X. It is what? X raised to t. After taking the transpose, you have to calculate xt into x. That is transpose of x into x itself. Right? So this is the value that you get for our certain condition. After that, you have to find out the inverse of xt into x. Right? Not transpose, inverse. This is the inverse of xt into x. Once you have found out the inverse of xt into x, you also have to find out xt into y. What is y? Y is this. See, y is just this column. This is what? This is a column matrix, right? This is just a column matrix because it has only one column. So what you have to do, what are the steps? First you have to find x, then you have to find xt, then you have to find x into x, sorry, you have to find xt into x, then you have to find out the inverse of xt into x, then you have to find out xt into y, and the last step is you have to find out xt into x inverse into xt into y. Okay, why are we doing all these steps? All these steps are known as, together, this is known as regression modeling. Okay, all these steps together are known as what? Regression modeling. What does regression modeling mean? Regression modeling means fitting of curve. Right? You have studied this in module in semester 4, AM4, right? Maths 4. We are trying to find out the equation of the curve which will fit into these points. Basically, what we are trying to do now, we are giving it 3 points and we are trying to find out the equation of the curve which is going to fit inside these 3 points. Okay, that is what we are doing in all these steps. So that is our ideal aim. We want to find out the equation of the curve that will fit through the 3 certain points, not just 3, a large number of points. Okay, large number of points which have a similar y value, right? That is what we are trying to do. So what is the final thing that you have to calculate? This is the final value that you have to calculate to find out the equation of your curve. Okay, to find out the equation of your second order response surface, this is the value that you have to calculate. Transpose of x into x, inverse of this into transpose of x into y. Okay, this is the value that you have to calculate. When you calculate this value, I have calculated it for our condition, you will get this. Here first is beta 0, next is beta 1, next is beta 2, next is beta 1 1, next is beta 2 2, and next is beta 1 2. Okay, so by carrying out all these calculations and finding out the value of this, you will get the values of all those constants. Now you can substitute the values of all those constants in your standard equation and you will get this equation. This is the equation of the curve that you required. Okay, this is the second order curve. So if you look at this example, see, if you look at this example, what we have done just now, is we have found out the equation of this curve. Okay, so we now know the equation of this curve. Now see, logically, if you know the equation of a curve, you can find out the center point of the curve, right? And if you can find out the center point of the curve, then you know the optimum value, which you are searching for, right? That is exactly what we are trying to do over here. So once we know the equation of the curve, we can find out the center of the curve. At the center of the curve, we can again perform a full factorial experiment, and we can justify that this value is the ideal value at which the experiment should be done, right? So that is why we use second order response surface design, right? So see over here. So after all these calculations, see, again I will repeat, these calculations are not important, just the steps are important. No one is going to ask you to calculate this, because it is impossible to calculate all this using just hand. We need calculator to do all these calculations, right? So we just found out the equation of the curve, that is the second order response surface that we have modeled. The similar way, what I just did this for two factors, right? I created a response surface model for two factors. In a similar way, you can create a response surface model for three factors also, using central composite design. See, over here we have our three factors. What are the three factors? Whatever they might be, I am not interested, but this is our x1, this is our x2, and this is our x3, right? These are our three factors. What is happening? This is the central value. Okay, this is the central run, right? These are your what? These black, what I have marked in black, these black are what? These black are your factorial runs. What are the number of factorial runs over here? The number of factorial runs is 8. What is the number of factors? Number of factors is 3. What is the number of factorial runs? Number of factorial runs is 8. And over here in green, I have marked the axial runs. There are how many axial runs? There are 6 axial runs. Okay. Axial runs is 6. Factorial runs 8. And central run, how many ever you want. Generally it should be 2k plus 1. So it should be 7, but 5 will also do. Okay. So what is the total number of runs? Total number of experiments that you have to conduct is 21, right? By conducting these 21 runs, experimental runs, you will find out the ideal values of all these three factors of x1, x2 and x3, right? So see, if we want to find out the value of alpha, what will be the value of alpha for each case? In case of spherical, what will be the value of alpha in case of spherical? What is the formula? Square root of k into step size, right? What is k in this case? K is 3. So it will be what? Square root of 3 into step size. What will be the value of alpha in case of rotatable CCD? In case of rotatable CCD, it will be 4th root of 8 into step size. Now what is the 4th root of 8? Even I don't know. We can do it on the calculator. Okay. Calculator, we have 8. We can find out its square root, which is 2.82, and we can find out its square root, which is 1.68, right? So for R, what is the value? For R, the value is 1.68 times step size. What will be the value for alpha S? We can find out with our calculator, right? It will be 3 square root of 3, which is 1.73, right? So it will be 1.73 into step size, whatever the step size might be. In previous case, the step size was 5. So in this case, what is the step size? Even I don't know, because I have just taken this diagram. Okay. So this is how your diagram will look for a third sorry, for a 3-factor second order response surface. Okay, sorry, for a 3-factor second order central composite design. See, it is possible that they might ask you this diagram in exam, right? They might show this and ask you what are the points marked in green, right? They might give you step size. They might mark this as 80, 170, right? And tell you that this is modeled based on spherical CCD. Then what is the value of this? They will also give you the central value. Okay, it might be 85, 175. What is the value of this? What is the value of this? What is the value of this? These can be the kind of questions that they can ask. Okay, I don't know what they are going to ask, but this kind of question can be asked in MCQ, right? So this is basically central composite design. Central composite design is a method of finding out the second order response surface. Why do we find out the second order response surface? By finding out the second order response surface, we can find out the equation of the contour, that is the equation of the curve. By finding out the equation of the contour, we can find out the center of the contour, and it is our aim to find out the center of the contour. Why? Because at the center of the contour, the values of the factors are giving me the best efficiency, whatever maximum or minimum that I want, but the best efficiency I am getting at that center point. That is why I am doing all this. Okay, so this was all about central composite design. Now you can take a break in between if you like, and then come and rejoin to see this. But this part is very simple because this is not there in much depth. It is a very simple part. So next just like there is central composite design to find out second order response surface, there is also something known as Box-Behnken design. Okay, so what is Box-Behnken design? They can ask a short note, write a short note on Box-Behnken design, write a short note on central composite design. So what is Box-Behnken design? Box-Behnken design is also a method of finding out second order response surface, and it was developed by whom? It was developed by George E.P. Box and Donald Behnken. That is why it is known as Box-Behnken design. Okay, why is it used? It is a method of determining the levels of the factors that must be selected when performing the experimental runs, right? We have to do RSM experimental runs. So what should be the values of the factors that we should take when doing this RSM run? RSM stands for response surface methodology. Okay, so response surface runs, how can we select the values of the factors? So we can find out the values of the factors by using the rules of Box and Behnken. Okay, so see, what does their rules say? See, we will see over here. This is very simple. To understand this concept better, let us take a look with an example. Okay, we will see this example to understand this concept better. So see, in this example, what they have given us, they have told us that there is a nickel titanium alloy and it is used to make components for a jet turbine aircraft engine. Okay, so cracking is a potential serious threat, and the final part, because it can lead to non-recoverable failure, right? If a jet turbine breaks, how many lives are going to be lost, right? So it is important that we try to find out that there should be minimum failure. So a test is run at the parts at producer to determine the effect of 3 factors on cracks. The 3 factors, they have identified that 3 factors have maximum effect on the crack. What are the 3 factors? Pouring temperature, titanium content, and index of the grain refiner used. Okay, so the length are based on all that. So and based on that, they have given us the level, negative level and positive level, and the central level, right? So they have done the basic experiments, they have done the method of ascent, steepest ascent, and they have come to this value. Now they want to find out the equation for the second order response surface so that they can find out the optimum value. Okay, what is the optimum pouring temperature? Let us say optimum pouring temperature is 720 degrees Celsius, right? It is between 700 and 750. How are they going to find it? They are going to find it after they know the equation of this contour. Once they know the equation of the contour, they can find out the center of the contour, right? See, some of you might be thinking, why don't they directly find the equation of the contour? See, we do not know where exactly our experiment is in the contour, right? See, this might be the contour, We are performing experiment over here. We might be performing experiment over here. We might be performing experiment over here. We might be performing experiment anywhere, right? We have to find out the equation of this curve. Once we know the equation of this curve, we can find out the center, right? That is why we are doing all these experiments. That is why we are doing this response surface methodology, right? So see, they have given us the levels of the input factors. They have said that the level is what, 700 degrees Celsius and 750 degrees Celsius, 4% and 5%, 120 and 120. Okay, 120 and 100. So with all these values, now we have to find out the equation of the curve. To find out the equation of the curve, we are going to use this Box-Behnken design, right? What does Box-Behnken say? Box-Behnken says that, see, if this problem itself, what did Box-Behnken say? Box-Behnken say that this problem itself looks like a 3 raised to 3 factorial condition, right? There are 3 factors and each factor has 3 levels. So this is what? This is an example of 3 raised to 3 system. So if it is an example of 3 raised to 3 system, what is the total number of experimental runs that I will have to perform? What is 3 raised to 3? If I want to do a full factorial experimental run, what is the total number of experiments that I will have to perform? 27, right? But what happens, sometimes I do not have enough time, or else I do not have enough money to perform so many experimental runs. If instead of this I had used CCD, how many experimental runs would I have to perform? You can calculate it. Okay, see, there are 3 factors, right? And there are 3 levels, right? Means basically axial and alpha. So you can calculate it for CCD also. What did Box-Behnken say? Box-Behnken said that to find out the equation of the curve in minimum number of experimental runs, what you should do, you should take these 3 factors, you should keep one of the factor at the central level. You should keep one of the factors at central level and perform the factorial experiment for the other 2 factors. Okay, what does this mean? See, understand this. There is ABC. Okay, what are the values of A, B and C? The values of A, B and C are -1, 0 and 1. See, we have done this in 3 level factorial design sums, right? There we had used 0, 1 and 2 notation. Okay, instead of 0 we are using -1, instead of 1 we are using 0, and instead of 2 we are using +1, right? That is the same thing. So if I had to perform a full factorial experiment, now just imagine if I had to perform a 3 raised to 3 full factorial experiment, there would have been 27 runs, right? I would have written like this: -1, 0, 1, -1, 0, 1. Here I would have written -1, -1, -1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and then here -1, -1, -1, 9 times, right? This all has been explained to you, right? Rather than performing 27 different runs, what are we going to do over here? We are going to use Box-Behnken's rules. What does Box-Behnken say? Box-Behnken say that you have 3 factors, keep the first factor at central level, right? Our levels are what? -1, 0 and +1. So this is the central level. He says keep the first factor at central level and then do full factorial experiment for the other 2 levels, right? See, means what? First assume that there is no factor A. Just do a full factorial experiment for BC. That is what I have done: -1, -1, plus minus, minus plus, plus plus, right? Then he says, then assume that factor B is not there and just perform full factorial experiment for AC. So I have done that, and then assume that C is not there and perform full factorial experiment for AB. So what does Box-Behnken design say? Box-Behnken design says that to reduce the number of experimental runs for response surface design, what you can do, you can set one of the factors to the central level and perform full factorial on the other 2 factors, right? That is exactly what we are doing over here in these steps. So what happens? How many total number of experimental runs are required? 12 over here, Plus Box-Behnken says that we should do 3 central runs. Okay, Box-Behnken says that we should do 3 central runs. So 12 runs of this, of the Box-Behnken design, plus 3 central runs. What is the total number of experimental runs that we are performing? Total number of experimental runs that we are performing is 15. If we had gone for the full factorial experiment, how many experimental runs would we have to perform? 27. But here how many we have to perform? Here we have to perform only 15. Right? So see, number of experimental runs is reduced. That is why we use Box-Behnken design. Now just for your practice, let us say that someone has asked us to design the Box-Behnken for 4 factors. How are we going to do Box-Behnken for 4 factors? Okay, I will just take this, just 1 minute. Let us say over here that we have to find out a Box-Behnken for 4 factors. How will we do that? See, we will do it like this. 4 factors A, B, C, D. Each has 3 levels. Each has 3 levels: -1, 0, 1. So what kind of an full factorial experiment it is? 3 raised to 4, right? Number of levels raised to number of factors. What is the value of 3 raised to 4? 81. So we will have to perform how many experimental runs? 81. But rather than doing 81 experimental runs for response surface methodology, what we can do, we can use the Box-Behnken design. What does Box-Behnken design say? First, keep one factor at 0 level and perform full factorial for the 3 other factors. These are 3 factors. So full factorial for 3 is what? 2 raised to 3 is equal to 8. So this will be what? Minus. Okay, I will do it in Excel. Okay, it will be much better to see. Okay, I will just do it in Excel. See over here, there are 3 factors: A, B, C, D. Okay, just 1 minute. Right? So A, first what we will do, we will put A as 0 8 times, because 8 runs are there, 2 raised to 3. So this will be -1, +1, -1, +1, -1, +1, -1, +1. Then here it will be what? -1, -1, +1, +1, -1, -1, +1, +1. And here it will be what? -1, -1, -1, -1, +1, +1, +1, +1. Right? So we are doing full factorial experiment, 2 level full factorial experiment for these 3 factors and keeping A at 0. Then next step, what we will do? We will make all B 0 and we will perform this same experiment for A, C and D. Right? Then we will keep factor C as 0 and we will perform this full experiment for A, B and D. Right? A, B and D. And then what we will do? We will make D 0 and we will perform this full experiment for A, B and C. Right? So what is the total number of runs? 1, 2, 3. Let us say total number of runs is 32 plus 3 central runs. Okay, 3 central runs. Sorry, I just missed one. So here we have 33, 34, 35. Right? So rather than doing 81 experiments, here how many experiments we are doing? We are doing only 35 experiments. That is why Box-Behnken design helps us in reducing the number of experimental runs required. Right? Now, some of you might have a question that if Box-Behnken reduces the number of experiments, why don't we use Box-Behnken everywhere? What is the need for full factorial experimentation? See, there is a difference. Why do we use full factorial experimentation? Full factorial experimentation is used to identify the factors which have an effect on the output. Right? We have to identify the factors. There we cannot do less number of experiments. If we do less number of experiments, we have seen there is confounding. We have done fractional factorial experimentation. There is confounding. So if we do less number of experiments, there might be confounding. and we won't know whether the effect is because of A or whether the effect is because of interaction effect BC, right? We won't know that. That is why we do not do Box-Benken for normal when we have to identify the factors. But once we have identified the factors, now we just have to do what? Now we just have to find out the equation of the curve, right? So to find out the equation of the curve, these number of points are enough. These number of points are enough. There are how many points? There can be as much as 4 to 5 points in a straight line. Sorry, 4 to 5 points to join the curve, right? So that is why Box-Benken design is satisfactory when we just have to do response surface modeling, but it is not satisfactory when we want to identify the factors. Okay, so hopefully some of this part might be clear to you. Okay, you can always go through these notes again. I will remind you, do not worry much about these steps. These steps are not important, just this is important. Okay, you just have to remember this equation. The steps are also slightly important. Just remember the steps for in English. Do not remember them from calculation point of view. No one is going to actually ask you to create a second order surface model. Okay, it is not possible to do it by hand. We need a computer, right? And just pay attention to what central composite design is, what are the different types of central composite design, how we get the value of alpha, what is the total number of experimental runs that is done, right? So just why is second order response surface important? Keep these points in mind. Okay, so thank you.